Okay, so let's look at part 3. So we want to actually implement refresh feed now. Okay. What are we trying to do? Just grabbing some water there. Okay, so we want to do the same thing. We just want to make an AJAX call. So inside, I'm just going to copy and paste what we had in here into refresh feed. Okay, and the values that we're going to pass this time aren't name and message. We're going to pass the key still, and we're going to pass a created after value. And this is just so the server knows you know, what post to give us, and it's basically going to give us the values that are after this time, after this date. Okay. Is there anything else? Okay. And we want to actually format this correctly. So we want to use last refresh, but we want to pass it. So we want to pass it in the correct format for the server. So we're going to want to use this. It says turn JS date object into string for Rails. So I'm just going to call this function on our last refresh object. Turn JS date object into JS string for Rails. Right. Okay. Good. That's what we want. And then in our callback, we want to show all these messages that we're pulling back. So show senior function data. So we want to retrieve data. Okay. What else is it saying to do? Okay. Right. Okay, so each data has messages, and we want to loop through all the messages and print them individually. So we're just going to do a for loop. And this code is actually in the documentation, so you're basically just going to be copying this. But I'll explain what's going on right now. So we're going to basically loop through the messages that we get back, and the messages that we get back are going to be inside this data object over here. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a for loop that's going to go through it. I initialize the iteration to 0, so we're going to start at the first message, and then while there are messages that still haven't been pulled out, we're going to pull them out. Okay, and then our code to actually do this will be in here. Oh, and it looks like John explains the for loop there as well. Okay. Alright. And we're going to need to use, looks like these things in here. To retrieve. We're going to need to use this to retrieve the name. I'm just typing this out for now. And I'll copy and paste them in place where we need to. And we need to retrieve the message. And we need to retrieve the created at time. Okay. Call add status in the for loop. Right. Okay, so we're going to call add status. And it looks like it just takes the user, the entry, and the item, which is going to correspond to the name, the message, and the created at attribute here. Okay, and I do wish that he named these kind of the same way, like name, message, and created at, but I think it's still pretty clear, so it should be alright. So the first one is going to be name for user, message for entry, and created at for time. Okay, let's see. Now select all HTML abbreviation elements that have class time ago and call time ago on them. Okay. Sure. Let me see. what he's talking about. He's saying okay, so he's just saying, that's a funny way of saying it. I think he's just saying select all elements that have class time ago and then call time ago on them. So dot time ago. And that should do it. And then in the last step, we want to call, last step of the callback is to update last refresh. Okay. We have greater than 0 messages. Okay. Sure. So basically what he's saying with the if conditional here is you only want to update the last refresh value here, if the last refresh value up here, sorry, if there's actually a message that we retrieve from the server. So we're going to say if messages dot length greater than 0, and then inside here we're going to update last refresh. And how are we going to do that? What does he want us to do? Okay, alright, so we have to use this down here, and it's going to take the JavaScript string and turn it into the date object that we want. So I'm going to call that, and I'm going to give it the last message that we retrieved. So it's going to be a similar syntax to this. Instead of using I, which is going to iterate through the array, I'm just going to want the last message, so I'm just going to pass it messages dot length minus 1 because it's 0 indexed. And then what else? Is there anything else? Next page, page 5. Okay, now we have to fill in add status. So in add status, it looks like we just want to create a new variable, new status, store the HTML status. We'll add. We'll have HTML that looks like this. Let me see. Sorry. Just trying to figure out what he wants to do. So am I creating a status body, or is the status body given to us? And where does this go? Where does this go? Okay, so I think it comes in the feed because he's using a list element out here. So I think we have to just create everything that's inside of this screenshot that he's given us. So everything's going to appear inside here. Which is fine. Okay, so we want to code this outside in. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing we want to do is create a new list element, and I'm just going to give it a variable. Oops. So we can reference it later. I'm going to call li on it. And this will create a new list item, and then it looks like we have a whole bunch of spans. I'm going to just create these things right after li. So I'm going to say, actually, okay, I'm not going to create a variable. We actually don't need to. I think I can do this in just one run by just chaining together a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so inside this list element, list item, we want to append this first span up here. So dot append, and then I'm going to make a new span, and I'm going to give it a class, dot add class, and the class is going to be pf image. And I actually, sorry, I forgot to add the class to this list item too. And this is status over here. Okay. And I'm going to try and, can I do that? Yeah, I'm just going to break this apart onto a new line just so I can see what's going on. let me do it this way, sorry. Okay. And then after this span, or inside this span, sorry, I'm going to create an image dot append image, and I have to set the source attribute on it. Source, and the value is images slash speech bubble.png. Okay, and this has to be a string, so I'm going to put it inside quotes. Okay, and then inside this li, we're going to create another span dot append span, and I'm going to give it a class user, and then I'm going to give it a value. So I'm going to use the .text attribute, or .text method, and I'm going to give it the value that we retrieved up here. So it's going to be user, and then wait, did I mess up? Sorry. Oops. Okay. So my bad. There's actually another span in here. Before I do the user, it looks like there should be a status body span, I guess. I guess John really likes his spans. Okay, so here's a new span dot add class. This one's going to be status body, and then inside here we're actually going to nest the user span. So let me do this. Okay. And then it looks like we need another span, another one, and we're calling this one the status entry, and then inside here we're giving it the entry, and then last but not least we're creating yet another span, and the class this time is time, and what's going on? Abbreviation class? Okay. Sure. We're going to append an abbreviation element, which we didn't discuss in class at all, but it shouldn't matter. It's all the same for jQuery. Abbreviation dot add class time ago, and we want to set the data time attribute .attr data time, and we want to use basically the value that's passed into our function up here, time. Okay, and I think that is it. So let me double check all my closures here. Okay, and then we want to actually append this list item to our ordered list here, so append it to feed. Append to feed. Okay, so let's refresh the page and see where I made errors. So it looks like I made an error on line 74. Let me see what's going on here. Source, images, that looks right. Oh, I have a semicolon here. Sorry, I shouldn't have a semicolon there because it's being continued. And I have another semicolon here. Sorry, a bunch of semicolons that shouldn't be there. What is going on? Oh, okay. Sorry, let me fix these. Dot append. Let me go back and look. So I'm appending this, and then I'm also appending more elements. So I'm going to append this in there. Okay. And then what else am I doing? I'm appending another one. Okay.